split the company a year ago. And that was really to go create technology for everyone, everywhere. Okay? And that is really key. And the key to doing it are those last two words. It really does have to include everyone, and we have to be able to address it everywhere. Now, at HP, one of the things I'm very fond of saying is that innovation is culture. Innovation is culture. And what I mean by that is that there is not a single person, certainly not me as CTO, there's not a single organization like the labs or somewhere else that is charged with innovation and creativity. But the key to scalability, the key to real innovation is to drive innovation into every aspect of how we live and to embrace and pull in every piece of the company itself and charge them with innovation. So that's everything from how we design our products, how we create our technologies, how we go to market, all aspects of things. That is what we mean when we say innovation is culture. Now, a key part of this is when we think about tomorrow and we look at the future, is thinking about how do we create things for sustainability? How do we create things for diversity? How do we address these overall in this world of the future? And with that, what I want to do is I want to invite up Nate, and Nate is going to talk to us a little bit about that reinventing for tomorrow.
Thanks, Shane.
Thank you very much.
Appreciate it. So, who doesn't want a better tomorrow? I feel like this group needs to wake up a little bit. We're like the post-lunch lull. I think we all do. And I'm proud to say that leaders like Shane and our entire leadership team, some of the board members you'll meet tonight, I don't think sustainability has ever been stronger at HP. From day one, we've hit the ground running. We've had the opportunity to interact with board members. They're pushing us to go further and further, to tell this story a little more. So that's in part what we want to do today, is just get you familiar with how important sustainability is to the culture here. Just as Shane said about innovation, sustainability runs through and through. It starts with how we design our products when we think about designing for the environment. It also is embedded in how we use the products and work with our customers and their use to drive down energy usage and drive down material usage, as an example. And how we regenerate those materials and those products as well, and create some closed loop systems. So to help me today in this conversation, I want to introduce Zoe McMahon, who leads our supply chain responsibility efforts as well as our human rights, and Lesley Slaton Brown, who leads our diversity efforts. So we'll hear from them a bit more in a second. But I want to talk about this new economy that we're living in, this circular economy that is demanding less material use, less energy use. And we hear this all the time from our customers. They want to know more and more, what are you doing about sustainability? How is it a part of your strategy? Every year, the amount of questions that we have to answer and RFPs and bid proposals goes up. In addition to that, from investors are looking more and more how a company rates on sustainability attributes. How are they using sustainability to manage risk and things like climate resilience and other such topics. So more and more customers and investors are thinking about this. It's also essential to our employee culture in terms of retaining and attracting new talent. I know we've talked a little bit about millennials, but all research shows that millennials won't even think about going to work for a company that isn't social and environmentally responsible. And it's really important, as you know, in terms of being able to manage costs and bring new innovation into a business to be true to these sustainability principles. So going forward, in terms of some of our products in circular economy, I want to give just a few examples, and then we have many, and I know we'll have a chance to talk to many of you over the next couple of days. But one is a closed loop system that we've created, innovation system we've created for our print cartridges. So both our ink and toner cartridges use recycled plastic in it. We've, through this closed loop system, have created about 3 billion cartridges to date. And when you think about the plastics that we're using, we take in materials such as plastic coat hangers. I saw many of you drinking out of plastic water bottles today. If you felt guilty like I did a little bit of doing so, the good news is we reuse that plastic in our ink cartridges. And on average, we recycle and divert from landfill about 1 million plastic water bottles a day. So it just shows you the size and scale of HP and innovation that we can have on such a program. Going forward, I think some of you, I saw you holding the page-wide print head today. And that page-wide print head allows us to save 98% in energy use. It's so fast that it allows us to save 98% when compared to other LaserJet printers. And what that means, for an enterprise customer, when you couple that with managed print services, which is a service that we now offer, we help them save on cost and save on energy use. So we're always inventing for that future of where our customers want to be, where the environment needs to be as consumption models go up. So just a couple examples there. And then also in the social space, we're working on reinventing the classroom. So one of the things that we announced recently this year with Digital Promise is we're going to open up learning studios in partnership with Microsoft and Intel. What these learning studios do, or think of them as mini maker spaces in classrooms where we teach teachers and students, some of you are playing with the Sprout technology out there, on how to use these interactive immersive technologies and create unstandardized forms of learning. We see every day, I have a 5-year-old, I can already see how he wants to interact with technology. He knows that it's part of the world that he lives in and wants to find uses in education. And the teachers feel the same way. They want those old kind of computer labs that they now have to be upgraded to these new models and these maker communities. And the great thing about HP is we're not just taking these two emerged markets. We're thinking about the challenges that exist out there in the world today. And I know there's been a lot of conversation about the terrible emergency situation with the Syrian refugees. So we're taking these same learning studios and we're going to take them to Lebanon and Jordan, create 6 learning studios that are going to reach refugees, because we understand that a good idea can come from anywhere, that innovation can come from anywhere. And we've learned that over the years. I mean, it's how we survived. To bring these ideas back to our labs, help them create, as Shane was talking about today, as we look at these mega trends, as we look at these markets that will be coming online in places like India and Africa, in potential refugee camps or surrounding areas. So we're always thinking about what innovative approach can we take just in terms of applying our technology to some of these difficult societal challenges. And then I want to mention one more, which is a conversation that I started in February. I ran into a new company called Thread International, and they're doing work in Haiti where they're taking plastic from the landfills there in Haiti. And you have these families, these mothers and fathers with children who are trying to just find a source of income. They're getting paid to recycle this plastic and reuse it and give it to Thread and find new uses for it. Timberland, you guys are probably familiar with them, they're an apparel company, had been working with Thread for a couple years. And so I got into a conversation because I knew that we had a use for plastic in our recycled print cartridges. That conversation started in February, and just last week, and this shows you the pace of the new HP. In the past, I think a conversation like this could have taken a very long time. We saw an opportunity to help these people in Haiti, and we now just announced last week that we will be sourcing plastic from these landfills. And so I bring this up because I think it's a good segue to a lot of the work we do in the supply chain responsibility space. And I'll let Zoe talk about this example and many more.
Thank you, Nate, and good afternoon, everybody. My name is Zoe, as Nate said. I have been with HP 22 years. There's a lot of numbers being thrown around by folks today on their HP credentials, and I never thought I'd be here that long, but it's been an awesome journey. I've spent the whole time as a sustainability professional. I'm a career sustainability professional, and I can tell you that it's never been more exciting to be a sustainability professional at HP as it is right now. As Nate said, some of the initiatives that we're working on, moving at a new pace with the support from the board members and the executive leadership team that we have in this new company. My specific area of focus right now is around human rights and social responsibility. The example that Nate referred to in the Haiti case is a really interesting example of how we have brought innovation and our experience of how to do ethical sourcing, as well as our vision for a circular economy, together with our idea of helping communities develop. The landfill that Nate referred to, called Trutia near Port-au-Prince in Haiti, after the earthquakes in Haiti, the issues of waste disposal were really challenging. And this initiative that Nate referenced is a really creative way of encouraging there are children who collect plastic bottles from that landfill site. And unfortunately, the conditions of doing that are really unhealthy right now. They estimate something around 200 children scavenging for plastic materials at that site. And what this partnership really aims to do is to help those children, to bring a solution to a difficult challenge through providing those children with training, education, and also scholarships for further education, so they're not trying to find their way in their life just through rummaging around in the waste. But at the same time, by including that waste material into our closed-loop recycling program for ink cartridges, we're creating a sustainable income for the families of the children around that landfill site. This is a really innovative way of us bringing our sustainability smarts to a real problem in the world. And this commitment to ethical sourcing and supply chain responsibility is something that started with HP around 15 years ago. We've been talking about the last 50 years in technology and the next 50 years today. And if you think back to how manufacturing was, it was very different for HP, even 20 years ago. We owned much of our own manufacturing. And as you'll know from HP's culture and history, commitment to society was a big part of that, and commitment to our employees. Treating people with dignity and respect was a huge part of our culture. And when we moved to a more outsourced production model, those values didn't go away. And as a consequence of that, we were the first company in our sector to establish a code of conduct for our suppliers and to go audit their facilities. And ever since then, we've been disrupting the industry with innovative goals and standards that have raised social and environmental performance, not just for HP and our suppliers, but for the electronics industry as a whole. The most recent version of that was our commitment to foreign migrant workers. These are workers who are located in countries where they may want to move around countries to find work. In September 2014, the New York Times produced a study that talked about how there was a risk of exploitation of workers, in particular in Southeast Asia, as they were looking for work in manufacturing locations, particularly in the IT sector. So ahead of that, HP had already started thinking about this issue, observing trends and feedback that we had from our employees and from around other NGOs around the region, started to develop a standard for how we wanted our suppliers to treat foreign migrant workers, and we put that out late in 2014. To this day, we are still regarded as a leader in anti-human trafficking and forced labor measures. Specifically, a couple of months ago, we were rated #1 in our sector for these initiatives, and we're now part of a leadership group for responsible recruitment, along with other companies like Coca-Cola and IKEA, who, like us, want to disrupt the manufacturing economy in the way that workers are exploited and try to change the business models around us. I heard earlier somebody talking about solutions that solve some of the difficult challenges in the world. And that ethos of HP, it's not just about how we apply our technology, but how we think about the way we run our business and how we manage our supply chain. And it's not enough for us to just do it for ourselves. We always try to raise the bar for the industry as a whole. Another area where we have really enjoyed working with our suppliers is on the area of worker empowerment. As Shane said earlier, it all starts with people. And when you talk about managing supply chains and managing innovation and managing quality in a manufactured supply chain, it's all about the people. In 2008, we partnered with a company called BSR, Business for Social Responsibility, to implement a worker empowerment initiative called the Hurst Project, which focused on women's health in the factories. Around about 50% of our workforce in the manufacturing supply chain is women. And we were seeing gaps in understanding and awareness around health issues. So we went out, educated them, and since we have been rolling this program out with our suppliers in China and Brazil, and now most recently in Malaysia and Thailand, we've trained around 46,000 women about their own health, how they can manage it, and there have been knock-on effects by educating the women about their own health and what they can do to prevent illness and injury in their families and to stay healthy for work. We've seen a much greater sense of worker empowerment among the women in the factories, a much greater sense of confidence, such that they can speak up about other labor rights issues if they want to in their communities. This is very important in these emerging economies, that we encourage this greater worker voice in our facilities. So we've been doing this for a number of years, and we do it because it's all about the people. We do it because it contributes to a culture of quality and a culture of engagement in our supply chain, which, as you've heard, is a big, complex ecosystem. As we move into the next industrial revolution and we break up that conventional supply chain, I don't know where HP will be in that. And our manufacturing partners will be disrupted as much as everybody else. But I think what will stay true for us is that commitment to the person, that commitment to the people in our supply chain, in our network, whether they be our customers or our suppliers. A key tenet of that is, of course, diversity and equality. And I'm going to hand over now to Lesley Slaton Brown, who's going to talk about that and how diversity is really part of the innovation agenda at HP.
Job. Yay, that's a high five. I get excited when I hear about women. How many women are in the room? How many people want to be women in the room? How many of you have wives? Daughters, sisters. All right, I'm liking this. So we are creating a new standard for diversity and inclusion at HP. And it excites me, not only because I'm a woman and I work with wonderful women, but we're creating an environment in which women, it's a destination for women. It's a destination for underrepresented minorities. And it's a place where you can come and you can thrive. Shane talked about innovation. This is it. This is kind of the secret weapon, if you will. We have to diversify our workforce in order to get to better innovation. The interesting thing is HP has a legacy. We are known for, our founders established a foundation for us to be a leader in this space around diversity and in inclusion. And that is, it's not just about being a woman and loving being a woman, and it's not just about the millennials. It's not about the more mature workers. It's about bringing us all together to really create and innovate in fun and very, very creative ways. And so we are creating a new standard, and we started with our board of directors. It's so exciting to be a part of a company that said, we care about diversity and inclusion, and we're going to start at the top. Okay, so we cheated a little bit because we had the benefit of splitting a company and being able to create a new board. And so our former CEO of HP Co. and head of HR here, Tracy Keogh, which you guys will hear from later in the afternoon, and you will, promise you, be in for a treat. said, let's be very intentional about creating this environment, creating a company that values the women, values diversity, values a place of belonging for people to come to work, to thrive, and really create and innovate. Now, if you're not excited yet, I'll tell you this, okay. We've got 40% women on our board of directors, 5 of which are women. We've got 2 African Americans, we've got a Latina woman, and we've got 2 actually South Asian folks. And so we're very excited about that. We're also excited about the fact that when we split into 2 companies, we increased our women in executive roles by 4%. So today, HP has double the amount of diversity on their board than any other company in the US, and specifically the Silicon Valley, where most of us are based, right? So we're also looking at, okay, so we're creating a new standard. Zoe talked about and used the word disruption. We're being very intentional about disrupting a system that exists today. We're bringing growth mindset into the work that we're doing. Growth mindset helps us expand our thinking, get out of a fixed mindset, and get into a place of which we're more intentional about the work that we do and the way that we do it. Now, it's not to say women are better than men, or it is that we need to diversify this workforce, and we need to create an environment where everybody belongs, everybody can contribute. And so as we've increased the amount of women, and we're increasing daily the diversity that we do, and we've brought this growth mindset into play, we've had some of our leaders kind of step out and do some very disruptive things, which you've probably heard in the news. We started with our general counsel, and she is one of 3 leaders within the US that had said, hey, listen, so from a legal standpoint, let's hold accountable the firms that we work with. And if we're accountable for increasing the diversity, let's make them accountable too. And so all partnerships that go through our legal counsel will be required to be more diverse. So that was in August of this year. And then just a month later, our CMO, our Chief Marketing Officer, said, well, if she can do it, I can do it too. And so we've increased our diversity within marketing. So we're at 50% women and underrepresented groups, and 50% non, which is very, very exciting. But what's more exciting about this is Antonio Lucio, our CMO, said, well, if we're working with different vendors and partners and agencies, we want to hold them accountable as well. And so he's kind of come into play, and a lot more exciting things are to come from that as well. Supplier diversity is important for us. So it's important that we work with veteran-owned and run companies, woman-owned small businesses, minority-owned businesses. And to that end, in the first half of 2016, we invested $565 million into small business, minority-owned businesses. We're very proud of that. That's about 38% of our overall supplier diversity. The last thing is we are looking at how do we build more opportunity for underrepresented groups within technology to drive to this innovation that Shane talked about. And so we know that diversity is essential to global business. We know that, that innovation, it fuels innovation. And the last piece of it is our goal is to have greater business impact by the work that we do within the company. And as a result of increasing the diversity in the workplace, giving people an opportunity to be in leadership positions, to lead labs, to innovate, to create, we will see better growth to our bottom line. And we see that happening now. So with that, I would like to open it up for Q&A. And then Nate will wrap us up. Is that right?
That sounds good.
All right.
Yeah.
Any questions from this lively audience? You guys might be a little jet lagged. Okay, my Austin buddy, what do you have for us?
I just wanted to know, there's obviously good examples of diversity helping innovation in, say, famous ones, airbags or voice technology. Can you give any positive or any tangible examples of how diversity would help in the print
In the printing space. Shane, do you want to? I mean, I can go on and on about, just creativity.
The question without the mic, so we probably have to.
Okay.
Just looking for kind of tangible examples of how diversity would help innovation in the printing space in the way, it does it with airbags or voice recognition technology. The kind of famous examples there are of this. I'm just wondering, have you got anything for me?
Yeah, no, I mean, well, let me answer it more generally, right? Is we all look at solutions and how we interact with things very different. And that can be based on a whole variety of factors, right? It could be male, female, it could be location, it could be where you grew up, it could be, how you've interacted, from the time you were small. And so I use that as an example because when you think about printing, to your question exactly, is how we use a printer varies substantially. And so whereas you may have one population who would encounter it in an enterprise capacity, you'll have another population who will encounter it in a mobile because their job is very different. And so when you think about diversity, you think about location, you think about role you play, and every one of those ends up being a different way in which you interact. You'll see later on, I don't know where if Mariana is here. Mariana in the back here leads our experiences lab. And what I find very fascinating about that is that in the experiences lab, she focuses on people, imagine that. And she looks at what are the experiences that they have, and she concentrates, one of the areas is on printing specifically, and around social printing and how people do it with different backgrounds. And so she looks at models that, I certainly didn't think of, and sees that as a way to, it helps us clearly because we expand the printing population, but it also changes and helps the people who are interacting with it who can be frustrated by our products not working the way they would look at it as well.
I think there's a good specific example last week with our Sprocket introduction, right? We're bringing a printing product.
Yeah, hold on, here we go.
Sorry. I think there's a great example of bringing diversity into print, looking at our generational diversity with our Gen Zs and millennials with our Sprocket portable printer, really focusing on what does that customer want? What are they excited about? How do we bring things like that product to these markets, bring the app experience with stickers and frames and other things in the print to really drive print toward a generation that probably hasn't been very exposed because everything's been trapped on the phone in the digital prison and their photos are there. And so really bringing our design of our products and our experiences forward for those millennial and Gen Zs. And specifically with product, we see with the Sprocket product, we see a huge attraction from the female demographic. And folks really just want those memories and want those physical memories. So I think we're starting to shift our product development really toward understanding the demographic of a customer and how that's shifting over time.
And for those of you who don't know, this is Sue Richards. Sue is one of our senior technical leaders who leads a lot of the aspects, technology efforts in our print business.
Yeah. And I just have one more example, working in an emerging market. So we were helping the Clinton Health Access Initiative, which has a network of doctors that do early infant diagnosis, HIV testing, big issue for mothers in Eastern Africa. And we created an online health system for the Kenya government, the Ministry of Health. And we thought, we've solved the problem because we've cut the waiting time for them to get these results back from what was taking 6 months to a number of weeks. But in reality, that customer there on the ground, this being the mother, did not believe, an electronic PDA was actually saying that, yes, you can give an injection to my child. She was used to holding a document from the government with the seal of the government to believe that, yes, then you can administer these drugs. So as a result, we created a prototype 3G printer that these doctors then could take around and print the results from their PDA and show the mother, and then the mother believed it, right? She believed that it was coming. So you never know when where the use case is going to come from, and we're always kind of experimenting and looking at those kind of use cases.
And I'll just add too. So we have employee resource groups here at HP. We grew from 40 to we're now well over 77. Those employee resource groups are comprised of groups that form kind of like-mindedness or affinity for certain areas. So we have YIN, the Young Employee Network. We have the Women's Network. We have Black Employees, Multicultural, so on and so forth. And those groups are accessible to our labs, to our innovators in every way. I mean, whether it's product or process, we can access those groups to be able to kind of test out with them or use them as focus groups as well to help design and develop. Think about it from this standpoint. Perspective of diversity of thought is what we like to bring to the table. And so that's one of the focuses that we have is with all of these different groups and all the diversity that we have within HP, doing business in 170 countries across the world gives us access to a lot of perspective. Thanks for the question.
Yeah, I have another one. There are quite a lot of women here today, but the fact is that there are still more men interested in tech than women. How do you get women involved or interested in technology, even from a young age? And has HP have a certain program for that?
We do. We invest at kind of all levels. And so when we think about from an educational standpoint, girls typically opt out of math being the catalyst into engineering and STEM fields, in as early as the fourth grade, third and fourth grade. And so we make a concerted effort in investment and partnership within the communities that we live and we work in. Hour of Code, in fact, is one of our big programs that we from a global perspective, all kind of get around. And that is, Hour of Code provides the opportunity for us HP employees volunteer going into the school system, sitting down, working with not only the students, but also the teachers. And we make a very intentional effort to go to underrepresented schools. So schools that have a higher population of either girls and or underrepresented groups, ethnic groups within the US. This is a global effort that we do. Last year, we literally put this program together six weeks after the Grace Hopper Conference, which is another investment that we make, is a technical women's conference here. And within 6 weeks, we had over 400 volunteers on site in all the schools across HP businesses, and I think it was 16 different countries. And so that's one, and there are many other. We partner with a number of different organizations, the Anita Borg Institute. We partner with NCWIT, which is the National Association for Women in Technology, and they all have programs that go into the school, allow us to work with young students.
Thanks so much.
Mm-hmm. Other questions? You guys aren't jet lagged. Come on, you feel good. You're gonna have some popcorn or something later, a little live music. Come on, give us some questions. What were that?
Hi, I have kind of a follow-up question to the one that guy asked. I'm gay myself, and of course, gay people are also a minority. It seems to me that it's a little bit easier to reach out to women and minority ethnic groups than it is to gay people. So how do you approach that problem? How do you approach that group, actually?
Another question. I just love this. Can I go? You guys okay? So we have, as part of our employee resource groups, we have pride resource groups that are focused on the LGBTA community. And it's exciting. It's a great time to be gay at HP, okay? Because we do, in fact, in July we did Pride Month, and we focused on education around what it means to be a part of a gay community at a company like HP or in the communities that you live in. And so we do storytelling and employee profiles. We bring partners in. We do education and learning and workshops and webinars. And I mean, the list goes on, but it is suffice to say that we don't necessarily reach out to people. We let them come into us by offering up the opportunity to have open dialogue, be transparent, and really give people a sense of belonging within the HP environment. Yeah.
Yeah, and I would just add, I actually have a member of my team that is active in that employee resource group, and he's so passionate. I've had a chance to sit down with himself and some other members of it, and sometimes I have to kind of rein him back in just to like focus on a few of the deliverables that he has. But it's actually just a beautiful thing about HP. Like I always say this about him and like his counterparts. They live the HP way now. Like he's doing it because he believes that there's a responsibility that he has in his position to take care of his fellow employees, to work with them, to find new opportunities and new innovation in those communities and bring it back to his job and spread the word on it. So, it's kind of it's lovely to see kind of the grassroots components. And of course, then you have great leaders like Tracy, you'll hear later, and Lesley that from a top-down perspective are always driving, new opportunities for those individuals as well.
Yeah, we're sponsoring Out and Equal this year to be held in Orlando, Florida. And so we've got about 25 to 30 folks going for leadership development. They will also have a leadership development day there in which we'll have one of our HR leaders will be doing a training on unconscious bias. And they're excited. They're already on our Yammer and tweeting about it, and it's exciting, very exciting.
Okay, I'm Will Allen. I'm at HP Corvallis, and I just want to share a note. One of the groups I'm in is a veterans group, although I'm not a vet. Dear vets, as an employee resource group, we should be reaching out to help other groups. Here's an opportunity to do just that. If you can help out, sign up on the dates below, contact Joe or Mike, and it's about coming out day.
All right.
And this is like 4 days old.
Thanks.
So
Thank you.
it's just wonderful.
Other questions? We could take one more. At least one good one. Come on, give it to us. Give it to us. There you go.
Hi, you've talked about responsibility in the supply chain. Ultimately, the Silicon Valley business model is really, it is kind of dependent on going to countries with much lower labor costs. How do you see that developing in the longer term? Is there a bigger overarching solution to that as time goes on to redress that inequality, or is that just something that we have to live with?
Do you mean by the inequality, do you mean about local manufacturing, or do you
Yeah, I mean that most companies don't manufacture locally, for example, in the States, because the labor costs are too high. They go to countries where labor costs are lower, and that's because people are poorer. So is there any solution to that?
I think the world is an ever-changing place, and we've heard a lot about the future of manufacturing, and I think even on the future of the smart cities this morning, Chandrakant was talking a lot about localization, and this notion of I think we had globalization, we're going to hyper-globalization, but within that, we're having to have more localization, which is kind of ironic. And so I do think on the pathway to the vision of the next industrial revolution, we'll see shifts in the manufacturing pattern around the world on the way. And one of the things that I think is just going to be really important for HP as we do that is to keep the people at the center of our vision. As we think about places where we manufacture or our suppliers manufacture today, perhaps they won't be economies that are manufacturing in the future. Perhaps they'll be higher up the value scale in terms of knowledge economy or something. And we have to think about the people that we're working with in those countries now, because those will be driving that demographic change. So I think, I don't know that there's a solution. I just know that change is constant. And as long as we stay in our hearts with the people in mind, both at the supply side and the demand side, then I think we'll be doing the right thing.
All right, our time is up. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you.
Thank you.